Hello, Virgo. This is a reading for you, an update for whatever reason, not quite sure. Just decided to do some recordings today, and here we are. So it's up to you what this means for you. There's a big chunk of cards here. I'm not going to take them, but we're just going to notice what cards are in there. And maybe if you come back to this, just play over this one more time and just look at what those cards were. And look up the meaning of those cards. There might be something for you there. If you don't know what to do, Virgo. Ooh. I feel you on this one. This feels right. I feel you on this. And I just kind of did I had a realization right before the recording started. I realized something about, how judgy I am sometimes. I mean, I don't think you're in a judgy energy. I think there's just generally, I don't know what to do. It's a conflicted kind of space. On one hand, there has been dishonesty. On one hand, there has been some trickery of some sort. There's been some cross-wiring. There's been some intentional meddling. Some conscious meddling, let's put it that way. On the other hand, I'm not going to say it's a consequence of the meddling, but I feel like I could leap over and say, you're confused about something, you're torn about something. And this energy comes in reverse, like, people don't always go about things the most honest way, but they definitely do suffer their own losses. What is the punishment for the crime? Oftentimes, having committed the crime is enough punishment as it is, or something like that. I've been softened a little bit by the last few cards, so maybe I'm being a bit relaxed, but it looks to me like a scenario where you don't know what to do, and the answer might just be nothing. Like, you don't have to do anything about this. They're already suffering enough as it is, like they already made their own bed. They already became the person who did that, so whatever that is for, whoever that's for, they already Tower. That would be quite a revolution, wouldn't it? I'm going to see the Tower here, and I just noticed that, Uranus popped into my head because the Tower is kind of associated with the planet Uranus, and there might be something about Uranus in your chart, like something's aspecting with your birth position there. Or check out the house. Maybe it's like 7th house, 5th house, 5th house, 7th house. That would be just a uninteresting aspect that we wouldn't really draw a line between. We wouldn't connect the dots here. We normally wouldn't connect the dots between 5 and 7 because it's just 2 houses away. It's just 2 signs away. So maybe, what did we do 2 signs ago? We did Capricorn reading. That's maybe something. I don't know. I see a revolution. I see a revolution. A revelation. But a revolution. Something that shakes the core of what it is to be torn about what to do. I just saw that my phone just popped up and my phone has just been updated. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. I think I have automatic updates on right now. I don't know. 9 of Pentacles. You're not a part. It's like, don't be a part. You might have been the sole recipient of someone's sneaky behavior. But you don't have to be the one who gives the consequence. The reading right before this was kind of came in as like a parenting thing for Scorpio. And don't we all just parent each other all day long, huh? Getting out of that habit is a difficult thing to do. It's the first kind of interaction we learn about. So it's obviously the safest go-to under times of stress or great upheaval. You don't have to be the one who gives the punishment, is what this is saying for Virgo. But what about my experience? This is kind of like talking about this really like, I don't know, it's a huge debate in philosophy, you know, like about crime and punishment and, you know, what's the purpose of punishment? It's to impose some kind of consequence to deter future reiterations of that crime. And then there would be something more serious like the data that shows that punishment doesn't work as a deterrent in general. I mean, it does, but if you were to do overall, no, it doesn't. That's not what it's about. And it makes sense because we have learned behavior, I guess, or we do the best we know how. And our brains are not wired to receive punishment as a reinforcement for different behavior. Punishment is got nothing to do with changed behavior. We respond to reward or lack of reward. I guess that's like the, you know, negative reinforcement isn't to give someone a negative consequence. It's to not give the reward, to withhold the reward, like that you don't reward the behavior that you don't want to see and you reward the I'm that way with the cats. I try to be anyway, except for I catch myself all the time rewarding things that I shouldn't be. But they're so cute. It's like they come up, Dirk jumps up onto the kitchen table when I'm eating my dinner, and I should be like not paying attention to him, but like he'll jump up and he'll do the cutest thing and I'll be like, oh, Dirk, he's so cute. And I think maybe we're all doing the best we can, huh? Queen of Wands. If anything, this is a situation or an opportunity, Virgo, to witness something. If you have a scenario right now where you're torn about what to do because somebody screwed you over or somebody really kind of put you out, and I'm about to sneeze. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Somebody put you out or somebody did something that did it really affect you? That's the only thing I'm asking about here, because the Nine of Pentacles is here. You're torn about what to do, having only witnessed. It's not even that it affected you necessarily. It's that you witnessed somebody doing something shady. And you're witnessing what happens. And you're torn about whether or not you should do something about it. Now it's getting into something. What should you do about it? The cards are saying, have you tried thinking about doing nothing about it? And what is that? The Lovers. This is suggesting to me like, you know, rising above it kind of energy. The idea of like, the Lovers card says choice to me, but it when you really boil it down, it's respect. It's having respect for another as yourself, like that someone else is living a life just like you're living a life, and they're experiencing the consequences of their actions just like you are. The consequences, though. Wait a minute. The consequences. What if we got rid of consequences altogether? Like, what if consequences was just something of a mistake we made? Because the Lovers is kind of rising above it. Like, do we really have to intervene so closely in other people's lives? Now, that's so easy to say when we're talking about, things that are easy to digest. But now we're going to see somebody's doing something shady, sneaky. Somebody's trying to somebody's using less than integral methods to achieve what they're trying to achieve. And we witness it. And this is the thing. There is a splitting hairs that's going to happen here. I'm going to say something horrific just to kind of get the message across here. The horrific thing that somebody could do. Something that we would just be absolutely appalled if nobody did anything about it. We witness do I want to put this on YouTube? Okay. Sure. Why not? Because this actually, it's a really cool thing to talk about. And I'm probably going to ramble a bit in Virgo's reading. And for those who are listening right now, I've done really well so far, okay? So we're going to let one go. We're going to let one go long. For this needs to be said. This needs to be said in this reading. There's something in your energy, Virgo, that has an opportunity to kind of like forward this message. There is an example. It's horrific. It's something that happens across all cultures in all of time and in some of the most ironic places. That there are adults who prey on children. Okay, that's like just horrific. Hands down, nobody who would witness that would say, "Oh yeah, that was." No. This is like everybody would say that's not cool. We can't have that. When you have that scenario, of course, that act, that thing, that event is not cool. There's no argument there. But what we're talking about is the fact that someone's being sneaky about it. And I give this example because when I'm seeing this torn about what to do about it, there's no torn about what to do about that. Everybody say, oh, lock them away, like forevermore, like got to get them away from the kids. Okay. Totally understandable. I agree. But then you start looking at, okay, well, how do we curb this issue? How do we suppress this issue in society? Like, how do we lower the rates of that going on? Because it seems like it runs rampant. It's everywhere. And it's actually like, the Catholic Church is having a heyday right now, just kind of chasing their tail, making amends, trying to make amends. And I don't even know if the efforts are good enough. There's this wonderful idea that somebody came up with. It's to recognize that most people who do that are people who had that done to them when they were little. And it's a sad thing. It's very hard to have empathy, and it's very hard not to get just stop. And it's fair to just, I'm not going there. But some people have the composure and the composition to be able to go there and just kind of ask those questions and to recognize that that's what's happening. It's a repeated cycle of abuse that's people who are being abused, and then it gets put back, and then they become the perpetrators of that same thing. And where the intervention would be effective, like where can we help someone who is so isolated or so ostracized, and rightfully so, but how would anybody go in there? And what they found out was that the number one predictor of whether or not somebody would do that again is how isolated they are. That when people are isolated and they have this, you could say illness, that's when it gets really bad, is when they're isolated. And a lot of things about people in isolation, isolation is just not what we're here for. We're here for connection, but not that kind. But that's not what that is. That's not connecting. It's different. We're talking about here the people who have had the courage to see into something like this. And so I don't want to go much further. I can tell you about it that there have been many like attempts that I've read about. It's an interesting kind of thing to read about, that there have been these programs that have been developed to, what would you say, like surround this person with social support that they have to hold themselves accountable to. And that is like, it has like, I don't know if the figures are still the same, but when I was reading about it, it had a 100% success rate. Like that they nailed it. They found it. They found the cure. The cure is a family who cares and holds them accountable. Like that's the cure. But can we digest that idea that we would spend all that money providing such comforts for someone and that being the cure to something, when we're just so driven to kind of like, there's more to when something we witness is no good, when we witness something shady or even worse, we have an element of wanting that person to pay for what they did. But I bring this example only because the tower is here. And I brought that because that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of one of those times. What's a time when I was, like, I learned about something completely unorthodox that I'd never thought about before. And it turns out that it's not going to be where I go instinctively. Like my instinct is there's nothing you can do. You got to lock it away. That's the only cure. That's a for sure cure. That's the only for sure cure, is behind bars and out of sight and out of access. Remove their access. Done. And almost like I don't need to see anymore. But then there's, of course, always going to be exceptions. You can't just take people's freedom away like that, as much as you'd want to at times. Let's say, going back to your scenario, Virgo, which I'm very sure is not this scenario, but going back to it, it's like you have a debate here about something. It's a tricky one, like, and it's understandable that you would have this kind of almost desire to see someone suffer for what they did. That's normal. It's natural. We all have that. And you're being asked to see a radical alternative to keep yourself out of it. We want to say, oh, okay, well, keep yourself out of it because you're not the one who got hurt. But, you watch, kids are getting hurt. Well, we're all getting hurt. We can't watch kids getting hurt. We're responsible for kids, right? But I don't know if this is kids, but I would say that you're witnessing something that technically isn't happening to you. Let's put it that way, technically. But you can be activated by like a sense of justice or something, that the way that you think society ought to be, or the way that you feel like this particular organization ought to be, and to stand on the sidelines and just watch something like that go down without doing something about it, without saying something. It's not so much don't do anything, don't say anything, because the Four of Pentacles, the stop, the don't is with the Five of Cups. Don't put yourself in the punishment. Don't put yourself in the suffering. There, we can rise above that. And maybe it's not so radical. Maybe it's actually quite simple, that we're all here for connection. And so usually connection is the answer. And connection can be, this looks to me like restorative justice, like the way that we would promote some kind of a connection in the face of something shady. It's a bit bizarre, and it's probably against all of our programming to default to this. Although not in all cultures, But let me kind of leave this reading this way with very few cards and a very simple concept. For Virgo, your message is about a radical shift in where you see yourself being the most effective. I can't invent the solution for you, but I feel like this is the framework where your solution lies for something that you're facing right now. Okay, thanks so much for, watching, listening, and thank you very much for sitting through my rambles. You can come to the stream if you want to hear more. I ramble way more on this stream, so if you enjoyed that, then come over to the stream on Twitch. And also check out the other YouTube readings that we've done for this series, because there are a few messages for everybody in all of them. Thanks again. Take care.